Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Power and Revolution. And this is going to be a basic gameplay tutorial that I had promised a while ago. And the reason why I'm doing this is because a number of you have asked me how did I get my economy so strong. And I'm going to just show you my train of thought and how I went about the actions that I did in order to get there. So this isn't going to be another US series per se. I'm going to say this is only going to be maybe about 3 or 4 episodes tops, unless you guys have a number of other questions for me that haven't been explained. But this is just to basically get you through the beginning process of figuring out what to do. So the first thing you want to do is you want to figure out what your ideology is going to be. For the United States, are you going to be conservative, which is more so the Republican Party? Are you going to be liberal, which would be the Democrat Party? Or are you going to be right in the middle? So you could be are you going to go about it from an independent standpoint and maybe take on some conservative values and liberal values and kind of combine the two? Well, that's a question you have to ask yourself. And again, you have to decide that from the very beginning on what your game plan is going to be. Because if you're all over the place, chances are your game is not going to go that well for you. So the way that I played the US series for the 2023 version, I went about it from a conservative viewpoint, and more so the up-to-date viewpoint that was generally followed or created by Donald Trump. So it was basically he wanted more businesses to produce goods from within the United States and be less dependent on outside countries, regardless if it was a country that we didn't really get along too well with or an ally. He felt as though that the country would be better if you produce your own goods within your country, and then if you produce enough, then you can sell that out and make a profit off of it. So he basically went about running the country from a business standpoint. So, in terms of the economy, we he believed in producing our own oil and not depending on countries like Saudi Arabia or I believe that was the main one that we would purchase oil from. And wanted to create a wall for Mexico to block immigrants. But we're going to concentrate more so on the economy aspect, because I believe that may be more helpful to you guys rather than other things. So the first thing we want to do is let's look at our budget. We're spending more on health. Just kind of skim through it. And our budget, we're bringing in 6.2 trillion. but we're in the hole budget-wise by 1.3 trillion. Public debt ratio to GDP is 121.66%, which is extremely high. And our national deficit is 30.4 trillion. So right now we have a quarterly surplus of 23.25 billion. And our inflation rate is at 8.1. So next you want to look at growth. Growth is at 1.63. And oil from OPEC is $82 per barrel. Next, unemployment is 3.79. So you're going to see what we do with that since unemployment is low. The other thing is aid. So according to this, we're giving away 37 billion or 37.256 billion in foreign aid. All right, so to get started, first thing we're going to do is to deal with the inflation. We're going to be a little aggressive initially and increase the inflation if we have to by between 25 and 50 basis points. So I'm going to start this off with increasing the interest rate by 100 basis points, be a little more aggressive. And that's going to help inflation kind of peak out and then start to drop. Next, we're going to go to aid, and so in my series, I did not fund Ukraine at all. So what I did was, I believe initially, I cut everything above 500,000. So that's literally all the way down to Palestine. So all I did was click on this, I right clicked on the minus, and that brought it down to 0. So once this is done, all these countries are going to complain about having their financial aid cut. All right, so we have a few more. So it doesn't matter whether they're, again, whether they're friend or foe, we're cutting this money. See, it is unnecessary spending. And if you're thinking that this is going to sour relations, there's another way to go about boosting relations with another country. And that's through trade. But I'll show you that shortly. Interest rate has been raised. So these are all the countries that's complaining. Basically the same thing.
I feel it necessary to instruct you on the strategy of targeted conquest, which is a simple and effective military option that we can use in the event of expansionist warfare. So, at our headquarters, you can designate one or multiple regions in enemy territory as a target.
All right. So we're done with that. Next thing you want to do is try to see if you can cut any other unnecessary spending or spending that you deem unnecessary. So we're going to go to the workforce. And so you have unemployment at 3.79. So that's pretty low. That's pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to give 2 stars to employing seniors. We're going to cut employment agency down to 4 stars. And the same for unemployment checks. I'm going to go ahead and approve that or confirm it. So we actually added about $34 billion to the economy. And real quick, let's go back to see how much we're spending for foreign aid. So as you can see, I cut it back from 37 billion to 15.3 billion.
I believe I must remind you here and now of the various elements that can impact the effectiveness of the infantrymen and
I think you're doing a good job.
I must inform you that you can at your leisure.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we're still trying to add more to the economy without actually passing anything. So the other thing we would do is you would go into health, go to legislation, and we're going to go to income tax exoneration for private retirement schemes. So we are completely funding this, and we want to put this more on the companies. So we're still going to have to fund this, but we want to fund it partially. And that's going to add $400 billion to the economy. So I'm going to go ahead and confirm that. And next, we want to go to tax exemptions for companies using retirement by capitalization. So this is going to be the reverse. We are partially funding this. We want to put this more on the company. So we're going to hit total, and that's going to add $311.7 billion. So overall, we're adding a little over $700 billion into the economy. And that's without passing a tax bill or anything else. All right, so we should, let's see. When is that gonna pass? So on the 15th of January, this should go through, and that'll be in our economy. So next thing we want to do is, in a moment, we're going to start boosting our industry, service, agriculture. But in order to expand different sectors, you're going to need more energy. So we already have a surplus of 260 terawatts. Since 3G nuclear is the highest, it's the highest form of nuclear energy that we have. Want to get another power plant in the process of being built. So with the United States, the U.S. is unique because they have such a large economy that if your economy is going well or going poorly, it'll take a while for it to really start to, before things really start to go sour for you. So we can afford to try to build a power plant and do it within 4 months. So we're just gonna go here. I don't know, for some reason I always put it near water in case of a meltdown, but I mean, it's not necessary. We'll just place that there. All right, legal employment. We'll go ahead and meet with that guy there. Go ahead. All right, so we have a couple more days before.
It would behoove me to provide you with a short summary of the various.
Be a little while before that money becomes available. So the other thing is, when I go to service and you want to go to the internet, so you have to think about modern times. So what does the country heavily rely on for just about everyone? And that's the internet. So the availability of the internet is way lower than the consumption. So we're going to subsidize. I'm going to do about 6 billion. And then numerical networks and infrastructures. This and the internet kind of go hand in hand. Same thing, we can afford to subsidize by $6 billion. And what the subsidy is going to do is it's going to give these sectors more money to hire and then also produce more goods. So the more goods you produce to meet your demand, the better you are overall. Okay, we'll address that shortly. All right, so next we want to go to industry. And the best thing to do is to increase your raw materials, because those raw materials are going to be used to manufacture different goods. So if you can produce a high amount of raw materials, then that's going to help your economy for manufacturing of other goods. So we're going to add, we're going to invest $2 billion into copper, gold, iron, can't do nickel because that's not available. Yeah, we could actually do lead. So 2 billion for that. Silver, 2 billion. And steel, 2 billion. And then next is the water supply networks. We're gonna do 2 billion. But we are also gonna privatize water networks. So that adds a little more money into the economy. And rare earth oxides is another one. I'm gonna do 2 billion. As that uses water supply networks also. And aluminum. So that's it for the raw materials. Next is farming. And I'm gonna do the most important one. So cereals. That's your wheat, your barley, oats. It's a number of different grains. Um, so we are below our consumption. So again, moderately 2 billion for that. 2 billion for potatoes. And for vegetables, do 4 billion.
I'd like to congratulate you in person for your popularity. The way the country trusts you moves me, and I am happy to work with you now and undoubtedly.
1 week before the
All right, so our approval rating went up by a lot, mainly because of industry and then agriculture. And also we're going to go to industry. So the biggest threat is China. So in order to do some damage to their economy that would go in our favor, first you want to look at their numbers. So unemployment is 4.22%. Inflation's at 2.18, and the national deficit is at 7.54.
many people are left.
So in order to deal with their economy, we're going to put a tariff on electric vehicles. So we're going to bump this up to, I'm going to make this 40. And electronic components, all right, so we're gonna do 5 billion. No, actually, let's do the same with everything else. We're gonna make that 2 billion.
Although your economy is among the healthiest, your solvency may not be safe from depreciation.
All right, so let's go back to industry. And electronic components, again, want to hurt their economy. So we're going to put a 40% tariff on electronic components. This is your microchips. So that's going to be very beneficial to our economy.
The bill has been voted on and the law has been passed. The bill has been voted on and the law has been passed.
All right, so those millions are now officially in our account.
The bill has been voted on and the law has been passed.
All right, let's check inflation. So that's really dropped, and that's what we want. Let's go to debt. Alright, so we're taking a loan out. Alright, so let's go through some things to place on China. Alright, so we're gonna... Alright, so we'll put a 35% tariff on steel. And want to reach out to India. So we're gonna do a 25% discount on goods from India or going to India.
Your conservative management combined with growth prospects reflect a stability that gives us confidence in your solvency and in your leadership. We trust you.
Alright, so let's go to debt. Let's go to agency. So that quick, we improved our credit rating. So this was AA, is now AAA. This was BBB and it's now A. Let's go to debt.
Your conservative management, although your economy is among
Alright, so one final thing we're going to do is what's most important, and that is oil. We're going to go to energy. And we're going to do some construction. So we're going to go with the shale oil wells. Alright, so I usually only build 5 or keep only 5 of the oil wells in each state. That's something that it was recommended to do a couple editions ago. I'm not sure if Eversim ever corrected that at all. Alright, so 3. Alright. Not sure why it's not allowing me. Okay. And just one more. Alright, so we have 5 oil wells being built. So that's going to help the economy. So we're taking a little hit with growth, but that's gonna go back up. Um, as we stay consistent with our ideology.
I would like to talk to you about
All right, so let's look at police. All right, let's go to debt. So I usually prefer to wait as long as I can once I see what direction the economy is steering. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna address the issue with seniors. So I'm gonna make this the Social Security Act. Let's just make this COLA. And then the employer. Only increasing it by 0.5. And now we can go to Social Security pension payments. Alright, so that's gonna pass. Look at the population. Alright, so I'm helping people below poverty.
This would be a good time to put an end to these antiquated practices.
Alright, so I think I'm going to end this episode. You kind of have a viewpoint of what to do, at least for the first part. Actually, there's one more thing that I wanted to do, but I may wait until the next one. Alright, so utility vehicle construction. That's what we want. Let's go with 4 billion. And that's going to be it for this episode. So you can let me know what you think of this tutorial. Again, this is my first tutorial, so I'm open to the constructive criticism. It'll only help me get better in the long run. So thanks and see you soon.